Most players in my age bracket will never have even seen an Atari for themselves, let alone played a genuine machine. Yet I'm sure we're all familiar with some of the classics that served as the foundation for gaming as we know it today. Frogger, Missile Command, Breakout, maybe you don't know them by name, but if you were to see them, you would no doubt recognise them as old school games. And that's what Pixel Ripped 1978 relies on. Nostalgia for the old timers and gaming pop culture for the younger players. And it works really well, delivering a fun, straightforward VR experience that this time around gets the backing of Atari itself, unlike the previous games, Pixel Ripped 95 and 89, which had to creatively work around trademarks and copyrights. This threequel sees Dot, the hero of the previous games, living it up in 1995 until she's pulled into a time-travelling adventure back to 1978 to stop the Sibling Lord, because once again, he's up to no good, and Dot is the only one who can sort the little green bugger out. But Dot does not have to go it alone. She's got an Atari game developer named Bug on her side. The perspective changes between Dot's video game world and Bug's real life. One moment you're running around blasting baddies with your wrist-mounted gun or smacking them with frying pans and garden hose. The next you're gripping an old-school Atari game stick in a messy developer's cubicle, complete with a funky monitor that needs a slap every now and then to get the picture stable. While in Dot's world, you run around in first person, blasting bullet sponge enemies, solving simple puzzles, and gathering up some simple collectibles, all while hunting down the missing crystals needed to stop Sibling Lord's evil plans. It's basic but functional, though the combat leaves something to be desired, as a small variety of enemies don't really offer up much of a challenge. All you really need to do is strafe and shoot until they go pop. It's not very deep at all. Where the game does get some depth is in its game within a game concept. Sometimes Dot will come across an obstacle she alone cannot solve, so it's back to Bug in the Atari offices and her retro joystick, ever-ringing desk phone, and the small cast of fun characters that pop by every so often, either for a bit of comedic relief or, in some cases, for some much-needed hardware upgrades. One character saw the future before anyone else and knocks up a 2-button joystick gamepad for Bug, turning the simple 2D platformer on her desktop into a quasi-Metroidvania side-scrolling shooter. Often it's these moments at Bug's desk where you'll take control of Dot in a 2D version of her game world to find a solution that moves her forward in the 3D realm. It's a cool concept that the series has nailed down, but I'd have liked a bit more variety in these Bug-centric moments. The vast library of Atari classics feels criminally underused, with some of its biggest names being relegated to momentary cameos or background office chatter. That being said, seeing the world through Bug's perspective is a treat, giving a glimpse to the past as well as throwing up some really cool boss battles. An early boss fight has you going back to Bug's childhood and taking on Sibling Lord in your living room in a game of Breakout that literally breaks out from the television. It's really cool. Sadly, Pixel Ripped 1978 doesn't use the PSVR 2 to its fullest. It's a multi-platform game after all, but it still manages to look the part with its bright and cheery design that shines on the headset's panels, and the characters in Bug's world are memorable enough with their well-written and acted dialogue. Some moments genuinely got a giggle from me, though there were a couple of shocks too. On occasion, I'd be knuckling down with the 2D platformer sections, totally focused on the old school CRT monitor, then out of the corner of my eye, I'd spot someone walking past, and for a brief moment, I'd get a scare. I'm home alone, who's this intruder? And then I would snap back to virtual reality and remember what I'm doing. Silly, but it got me every bloody time. Pixel Ripped 1978 carries the series forward in style, wood panel finish and all. It doesn't necessarily excel in any one department. Its first-person RPG-ish gameplay is very basic, and the 2D adventures played out from Bug's perspective don't hold a joystick to modern platformers, but it's got enough heart and humour to keep its relatively short adventure fun and fulfilling, much like those games of the era it celebrates. And that is the end of this review. Thank you very much for watching as always, and if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, share the love by hitting the like and subscribe buttons below, drop a comment and share your thoughts on the game, and give the bell icon a ding so that you're notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers my dears.